self-control. Her gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and this is our Friday edition of the show. And thank you so much for joining us as we dive into 2 full hours of the Paranormal Portal. And what could be better than that? Maybe 3, but we're only doing 2 tonight.
Yeah.
And that voice that you hear, it is not the walls speaking. It is, in fact, the Big Toe, Mr. Don Longbeard. How you doing, Big Toe?
It's the one that balances.
it's the stride guy.
It's the stride guy.
Yep. How you doing, man?
Oh, doing good. It's typical Saturday. Just got the new podcast to you, so.
Way to show up, man. You're just representing. I'm gonna start having raised expectations here or something.
God, yeah. So what do you think? I try not to. People start to expect.
That's right. Just keep it simple. And welcome to all of you guys, of course. We are going through 2 full hours of the show tonight. We got a lot of fun things on deck for you. A few Germer Files will be coming up through the course of the show, as well as we're going to do some ghostly stuff. We're going to do the news, of course. And whatever else we can get our fingers around or grasp on tightly for dear life as we roll through the portal.
And don't let go.
Never let go. Never let go. So I hope you guys are all set for that. I guess the number for the show is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500.
500.
If you've got something paranormal you want to share, by all means, feel free to call in. And we'll.
0500.
Yeah, 0500. That's good. Kind of like that. Might have to use that from here on out. Getting a rim shot right up front.
Hey.
Right on the front end, Don. That sounded terrible.
So
it did, didn't it? Jesus. Oh, wish I could suck those back down my throat.
You're not making it better.
No, just made it worse. Never mind.
Wow.
I have a headache. It's not getting better. But yeah, we got a lot of fun on the show tonight, so hopefully you guys will be wildly entertained by the time we're done, or at least mildly entertained, whatever the case is.
Or certainly disturbed.
Well, I think that's pretty much any portal's going to leave you disturbed. This is about as good as it gets, folks, so I hope you don't have higher expectations than this. Because,
people start to expect.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's tonight's theme. Don't expect too much, and you won't be disappointed. All right, folks, so I guess that's all we got on the front end. So How about the news, Don?
The news.
Let's do the news. It's just one of those nights already, isn't it? Just, you ever watch somebody fall down the stairs and you just feel every you feel every step that they hit, but you can't stop watching, and that's
like a friggin' train wreck.
It's kind of like the portal. It's like you can't quite look away because even though it kind of shocks you, and you just have to watch. And that's maybe what's going on here, folks. That's the magic of the portal.
It's like watching those skateboard videos.
Ooh, yeah, where people pull
Epic
up
fails.
their wrist going the wrong way and stuff.
Yeah, Z brakes.
Yeah.
Z the brake.
So what they call those Z brakes?
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh, they just make me cringe.
That was like my toe the other night.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. You had an L toe. All right, folks. So we're going to get into the Paranormal Portal news. So I hope you're ready to get informed and kept up to date on the wonderful weirdness that is our world. First on deck, of course, we're going to be hitting stories from unexplained-mysteries.com. And first on deck this is kind of a weird one, folks. And I got to tell you, this has been coming up more and more. And I have a theory about this that I'm going to get into at the end of it. But the first story tonight comes from unexplained-mysteries.com. And it has to do with the CIA team reports Havana syndrome symptoms. Now, if you're not familiar with what that is, this is.
Please. I don't know what that is.
Okay, so what it is apparently there was some developments back in the 50s and such, and people believe that maybe they finally figured it out. But the Havana syndrome is basically some development that was underway to create a weapon that wouldn't kill people, but it would just like agonize them over a period of time using microwaves.
Okay.
And so they would target microwaves at people or buildings or whatever in order to raise havoc with those inside of it. Now, Brent Swanser just wrote an article on this recently, and we'll bring it up on one of the shows. I didn't get it on deck for tonight's show, but essentially it's like a spy game. It's kind of like just an agitation thing, and it could cause major problems. Some people have allegedly been exposed to this kind of thing and needed years of therapy afterwards to get themselves back to somewhat normal. But, you're being bombarded by microwaves. That's going to screw up all kinds of stuff.
Sounds like 5G.
Yeah, well, see, that's getting a little head down. That's kind of my pet theory here. So... But this is the article.
You're supposed to let me know these things.
Well,
hey,
I never let
mention this.
I never let you know anything, Don, and it works out really well usually. Otherwise, you just wouldn't be Don. It just wouldn't be the same show if I filled you in ahead of time what the hell I was doing. A lot of times, I don't know what the hell I'm doing either. So we're both figuring it out on the fly. But the CIA team reports Havana syndrome symptoms. One of the CIA director, Bill Burns' team members was inexplicably targeted during a recent trip to India. Yikes. That's kind of really, really malicious.
And that's a long way from Havana.
It is. Well, yeah, it came up because of some people that were working at the embassy there in Cuba, were reporting these weird symptoms, and so they think it might be some kind of directed energy weapon, and so it became Havana syndrome. But the mysterious condition, which causes a range of symptoms such as fatigue, headaches, and nausea, is named after a spate of such incidents which began in Havana, Cuba, back in 2016.
You just listed all of the symptoms you and I both have.
I know. Wow. That's true. I've been having headaches for weeks. Intelligence agencies have been formally investigating the phenomena for months. However, so far, no explanation has been forthcoming. As things stand, nobody knows who is responsible or exactly what is being done. In this latest incident, which occurred when CIA Director Bill Burns visited India earlier this month, reportedly impacted a member of his team and is said to have left him fuming with anger. What makes this particular case so disturbing is that the trip itself was very secretive, and only a few individuals at the CIA would have been aware of Burns' private schedule. Some have speculated that the incident was intended as a direct message to Burns by whomever is responsible to emphasize that nobody is safe, that anyone can be targeted. When approached by the press, however, the CIA has revealed very little in the way of details. We don't comment on specific incidents or officers. We have protocols in place for when individuals report possible anomalous health incidents that include receiving appropriate medical treatment, said a spokesperson. We will be doing everything we can to protect our officers. The bottom line is that someone must be doing this. Finding out who, how, and why, however, is a challenge that will likely keep the country's top intelligence experts busy for quite some time. Cue my theory, and I had this as an epiphany after I was reading Brent Swancer's article, and he goes through several such incidents where people just suddenly are in a room and feeling nauseous, and they feel horrible, and they leave the room and feel fine. So it does show that something is happening very localized. Now, here's my theory. Many people, of course, have heard the cautionary tales of 5G and as that's being rolled out and stuff. Now, I don't know if 5G in and of itself is harmful or not. I just don't pretend to be informed about that stuff or have enough of an idea to have a real valid opinion. However, what occurred to me is something that I noticed oftentimes growing up on the lake. And that was if boats go in the vicinity of each other, they both, of course, release waves. Now, when those waves merge, they become huge. I mean, they magnify. So what if it's more a situation where these 5G towers are, of course, dispersed all over the place, and maybe there's certain zones of interactivity of these 5G waves where they could have a multiplying effect and create this symptoms. Maybe there's something where, all of this high energy, it doesn't go very far, but it's a very high energy wave that maybe as it interacts with other high energy waves, it creates a danger point, and it could be geometric. It could be having to do with the power, the amplitude of the waves, however they interact. But what if that's what it is? What if it's not a directed energy weapon? It's just a byproduct of this reckless rollout of 5G. Because when 5G was going to be rolled out, and this is a quote, a vague quote. I can't say it's an exact quote. But when they were talking about rolling out 5G, they were like, yeah, we're so excited. We're not even going to wait for safety studies. We're just going to get this out there. Mm-hmm. That's the abandon that was being practiced with this rollout of 5G.
What else does that sound like?
Well,
in recent news,
everything. Yeah, I know. Yep, getting the poke and the coof and all that stuff. Yeah, certainly there's a lot of caution to be observed with new rollouts, new technologies, and I don't know. Maybe there's something to this, and perhaps the 5G is part of this problem. So. Just my thoughts on it. I don't know if there's any basis or any merit to that at all. It just occurred to me as I was reading it. I was like, oh my God, what about that?
Well, so we know that that there have been like sonic weapons used against people, radio waves.
Sure.
Well, what do you think microwaves are?
Right.
They're just a higher frequency of a radio wave.
Right.
So we already know that it's things like that have been used against enemies of during wartime and I believe it's been used against as riot controls too. I don't quote me on that. However,
sure. The
point is that we know it's used like that, and I don't what. So it's like putting fluoride in water.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So,
Purple's fall sale is here.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah.
Shh.
Yeah, way to roll.
Talk loud.
Sorry about that.
So
I inadvertently popped an ad.
But it's like.
Yeah, I said it.
Yeah, you sure did.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but so this Havana syndrome sounds like things that people have been experiencing very, very recently.
Yeah.
And let's say in the last 5 years.
Yep.
Even more so in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So they've been throwing away the safety
precautions and testings. Yeah.
Testings, and
yeah.
they've just been throwing them away, letting them lay by the wayside.
Yeah.
And so there's my 2.5 cents.
I think you're kind of mirroring mine. So we're on the same page as far as this is concerned, folks.
True enough.
But yeah, I think there might be something to that. Maybe it's not actually just a directed energy at somebody. Maybe it's just the fact you're in the wrong place, where too many 5G towers are in concentration, and you're just getting baked.
I wonder if the Gwen Towers have anything to do with those too. But
Well,
anyhow.
yeah, it's hard to know. I'm not sure how many there are in
Wave
India.
Emergency Network.
All right, so let's go to the next article. Oh, I just did it all on screen.
Sweet.
I didn't even switch cameras. That's how involved I was. I was talking to the camera, and all there was is an article on page. No, I guess my camera's live. But anyway, next one is Tyrannosaurus Rex wagged its tail when running.
Wow.
He was so happy.
Hey, get the bone, stupid. Get the bone.
Yeah, exactly. Even the fiercest dinosaur may have wagged their tails back and forth when running and walking. I bet you it had more to do with balance, though, Don. What do you think?
I bet you it did. Yeah. You're throwing all that weight left to right. You got to have a counterbalance. Hi, Maggie.
If I back it up, would it be fat enough? Yeah, exactly. Even the fiercest. Yep. The very idea of a 40-foot-long, 7-ton carnivorous reptile running along with its tail wagging enthusiastically like a dog with a bone.
Called it.
Yep. Might seem ridiculous, but according to a new study, dinosaurs did in fact wag their tails when moving about, although not for the same reasons as dogs. Yeah. Most dinosaur species had considerably long tails and were quite unlike anything seen today. Excuse me. Making comparisons with the tail mechanics of any living animals difficult. To find out more, therefore, researchers had to use computer simulations to determine the role played by the dinosaur tails. They're funding stuff. Like, people get paid for this, Don.
I know.
How did those tails work?
Good.
I mean, really? How about feeding some kids? Maybe let's put dinner plates in front of people that need it, and then after they're all fed, we'll worry about the dinosaur tails. Jesus,
Unless
God.
we're going to use the dinosaur tails for dinner.
Yeah,
Because it sounds like a hell of a steak to me.
Yeah, exactly. Most dinosaur species had... Oh, I already did that. Researchers used computer simulations to determine the role played by dinosaur tails and how they moved in relationship to the animals themselves. The findings indicated that dinosaur tails swayed back and forth while walking and wagged during running, most likely to help control the animal's angular momentum.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
Really? Okay. The simulations they used were based on a small theropod called Colephas bauri. Essentially, our findings show that dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus and Velociraptor wagged their tails from side to side when they ran, which helped them stay balanced, said paleontologist Peter Bishop.
Wow, that was a stretch of
That cost money. I mean, these people got paid to come up with this. I came up with this in just seconds after reading the headline.
Probably driving a Maserati now.
Exactly. After running a range of further simulations, making the tails heavier, lighter, and even no tail at all, we were able to conclusively demonstrate that the tail wagging was a means of controlling angular momentum through their gait. Well, great. Fantastic. Now, how about those starving kids? Let's get on that. Let's throw money at that instead of worrying about what dinosaur tails did. It's just the stupidity.
Yeah, it's the frivolity.
Are we better as a global society because we know what dinosaur tails do?
Well, yes,
or
because
if we're feeding kids,
lived 60 million years ago.
I know they might pop up again.
Yeah.
I saw Jurassic Park. You might want to know this stuff.
Hey, they're trying to bring back the woolly mammoth.
Yeah, they are.
That'd be a hell of a steak too.
Jesus, Don, you hungry?
Not really, but anything sounds good on the grill.
That's true. That's true. And you are rather good at the grill, I gotta admit. So, feel free to bring ribs over anytime.
Oh, gotcha. There was I see.
Yeah.
There was a subliminal message in that.
Not really subliminal. It's pretty overt. Let's continue here. We went through the dinosaurs. Now we know what their tails did. Stupid crap. I can't even believe this. These people get paid money for that. All right, let's go to the next one. Here's the next one. This is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Again, 15th century Vinland map turns out to be a fake.
Oh.
So if any of you out there were relying on the authenticity of this map, I'm sorry to let you know. It's not real. Not real. Researchers at Yale University have debunked what was thought to be the earliest known map of the New World. The infamous map, which first came to light in 1957, was donated to Yale in the 60s, where it immediately came under a great deal of suspicion and intrigue.
No way.
Alleged to date back to the 15th century, the map depicts Vinlanda Insula, a section of North America's coastline. It also claims that the region was visited by Europeans in the 11th century. Despite appearing outwardly genuine, the map has been mired in controversy ever since it first appeared. Previous studies have indicated the presence of modern ink on its parchment. However, it wasn't until Yale researchers were able to apply modern tools and techniques that it was possible to determine once and for all that the entire thing was a complete forgery. According to their findings, the titanium compound used in its inks wasn't available until the 20s. The Vinland map is a fake, said curator Raymond Clemens of Yale's Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library. There is no reasonable doubt here. The new analysis should put the matter to rest. There is also strong evidence to suggest the map was a deliberate hoax rather than a modern recreation that had simply been misinterpreted as genuine, as evidenced by the fact that its creators used parts of an authentic medieval volume and overwrote it to make the map appear more legitimate. They just took the ink out of one page and put some more stuff on it to make a fake. Wow, that's horrible. It's powerful evidence that this is a forgery, not an innocent creation by a third party that was co-opted by someone else, although it doesn't tell us who perpetrated the deceptions, said Clemens. Ooh. The intrigue continues. Well, there you go. That map's fake. Good job, Yale. How much they pay for that, I wonder.
Yeah. Well, they're a scholarly,
Yeah.
benevolent, kind of place. So
Absolutely.
They have all the money they need.
Could have fed kids. That's my theme for the night. Could have fed kids.
Okay.
We got to get a T-shirt made with that. All right.
Bent says.
Yeah, bent. Yeah, I was bent. That's cute, Kieran. That's what's funny is that used to be a slam people would do to me in elementary school. They, oh, what's up, bent?
Oh boy.
Yeah, you're getting into my. I think I need a couch. I need a couch.
Let me get Freud for you. Hold on.
All
He's
right.
in the back sucking up some coke. Hold on. He'll be right with you.
I'm sure he will. Unexplained-mysteries.com brings us our next story, which is creepy figure appears behind a girl on a slide. Now, this has been around for a while.
Yeah, it has.
But I'm going to put it in the TFR chat for those over there to check out. This is, there is a video at the bottom. And I will tell you, it's kind of creepy. Again, it's recorded on a potato, so there's not a lot of high quality here. But check it out. It's pretty interesting.
I'm going to have to check out. I'm sorry. Do you have the potato filter?
A mother ended up terrified after discovering a strange face hovering behind her daughter at a play park. The unnerving incident, which took place in the San Nicolas de los Garza, Mexico, was reported by Hernandez Blanca, the mother of the little girl who had been playing on the slide at the time. The clip, which was filmed after dark, shows the girl sliding down the chute to join her older sister at the bottom, and at the time, nobody had noticed anything strange or unusual. Really? Nobody noticed that? That floating head? When Blanca went over the footage at home, however, she noticed to her horror that a peculiar face had appeared at the top of the slide, just as her daughter was sliding down. I didn't know whether to upload this or not, but decided to share it, she wrote on Facebook. This happened to my daughter 4 days ago, and I told several people that I was shocked and asked them, what's there? My daughter and her father were scared. I don't know why this happened or why it happened to my baby daughter. Every time I watch this video, it makes my skin crawl. I just wanted to share this paranormal story with you, and someone please can give me a hypothesis for this because I'm in shock. While some social media users have suggested the figure may have been a person wearing a mask, it certainly doesn't explain that they were doing there and why nobody else noticed them. You can check out the clip for yourself below, which we'll do right now. And those of you, if you're out there listening, go to tfrlive.com/chat and you can check out the video link in there. Or if you're watching on YouTube as we're live broadcasting on the Paranormal Portal channel, you can watch it now.
So real quick though, this is a modern thing. This isn't something that happened on an 8mm camera.
No. Yeah, this is more recent, but
Wow.
They didn't have obviously a very good camera phone, but it's a camera phone. Let's check it out. Yeah, there's no sound anyway. So, yeah, that's creepy. Now watch. Whoa, there's a face.
No, that's just a little kid coming up the back of the slide.
It does look like it could be.
Slide down with her.
Maybe.
Was there anybody else at the park? Does it say?
It says they were alone, but
I don't believe that.
yeah, it could very well just be that there was a kid there. But what if there wasn't, Don?
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's creepy. I don't know. If there really was nobody there, that's awful twisted. You gotta wonder. I mean, if it's just a little ghost kid, maybe he wants to play too.
Oh, that's pretty good. You got hackers come up on your suggestions.
Oh, yeah, that's a good movie back in the day.
Good. Yep.
Yep. All right, so let's continue on here. We got 2 minutes. Jeez, I'm not going to get through all of this.
2 minutes?
Let's get to this one because this one's kind of tragic and sad, and I think I can read it in 2 minutes. This one is unexplained-mysteries.com. Human remains found inside Louisiana alligator. Worldwide wildlife authorities have identified an alligator that is suspected of killing a man who was reported missing. The dangers posed by these four-legged reptiles were brought into sharp focus this week following reports that human remains had been found in the belly of the Louisiana alligator. The story goes that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, along with Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, had captured the creature near Avery Estates area where a 71-year-old man, Timothy Satterley Sr., had disappeared after being dragged off by an alligator outside of his home. Measuring 12 feet in length, the animal was found to have human remains in its stomach. Efforts are now underway to conclusively identify them as those of Satterley Sr. Despite the incident, however, experts have moved to reassure locals that such attacks are rare. People getting killed by alligators is extremely rare, said biologist Adam Rosenblatt. A lot of human-alligator conflicts occurs when alligators get provoked, both intentionally and unintentionally, when alligators go after people's pets. Official statistics show that only around 10 people were killed by alligators in Louisiana since 1999. For comparison, 12 times as many people were killed by lightning during that same period.
Wow.
Well, there you go. But still, either way, that would be a horrible, horrible ending.
I have the answer. Shoot him! Shoot him!
Put him on the grill.
Shoot him!
Put him on the grill. That's it. Yeah, aren't those gator guys down there somewhere? The ones that have like 3 teeth and
Swamp people.
swamp people, yeah.
Shoot him!
Shoot them. All right. Well, there you go. That's that. I think we're going to stop the news here, folks.
Yep.
And I'll continue with the other stories that I pulled up tomorrow night. So thank you for tuning into the news. Let's get back to the regularly scheduled program.
At least he went it out in a manly way. Brad, holy crap.
All right, folks, we're going to be going to our first break of the night. When we come back, we're going to dive right into one of the Germer Files, so I hope you guys are all ready. We'll be entertaining you shortly. But don't go away. We will be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go right from the break into the Germer Files. So I hope you're ready. This one isn't a very extraordinarily long one, but this is really good. Hey, Ruger, good to see you. Don, why don't you go through shout-outs?
Shout-outs. Yeah,
let me do a TFR shout-out
sure,
first.
Go ahead. Yeah.
TFR, I've got Bam 420 here, Psycho Dave 321, Gemini's in there, All One is in there, Daryl Bowles in there, Renee Cruz is in there, Drone Free Zones in there.
Hey, Drone.
Big D 1955. I hope that means Dave. Sorry. I should have just shut up. Sorry.
It's one of those nights, isn't it?
It is. And then Relaxed Humanoids in there. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming in. And who's on YouTube, Don?
You know, there's not a whole lot of people chatting right now on YouTube. So I'm going to give a shout out to Miss Karen. She's one of our visitors. She's come to see us twice now.
Yeah, 2 different conferences. Yeah. That was really cool.
We've got Brad. We've got David. David, by the way, we've got a new podcast coming out on Sunday. I just got done with it. Oh, look. Hey, people are coming in. There's Android Purity. There's Cosmic Fleur, which means flower. Let's see. David, Deer Dog, Maggie. Hi, Maggie. Haven't seen you in a while. Of course, Portal Mom is here. Psychic Psych Toad.
Yeah.
Rachel gets it right. Richard's here, Ruger's here, Tracy Gale, Wynn Wilson, and is that it?
J-Rock.
J-Rock, yeah.
Yep. Maggie M10.
Yep. Said hi to Maggie.
Good to see you. Fourth color, Herman Vera.
There was another one, Australian, it was a new name. I don't know where.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Australian.
Oh, well. Welcome everybody who's here, and sorry if we missed you on the shout-outs.
Australian Outdoor Man.
Australian Outdoor Man. Yeah. Awesome. G'day. Good on you, mate. All right. Mate. Just making you feel at home.
Well, how about Point Foster's?
Foster's is Australian for beer. All the Aussies always hate when I do that.
Yeah, they're gonna,
that's not beer. That's
here come lynch mob us.
All right. No, we don't really drink Foster's, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the Germer Files, folks. Buckle up your seats, grab your libation, turn down the lights, and enjoy the Germer Files.
My classmate, 2 days before we were to graduate off of our training unit, he was killed at Otay Lakes Dam. He fell off a cliff 120 feet, was killed instantly. Shortly after that, there began rumors that he was actually pushed off the cliff and murdered. I had a couple of very weird incidents with my radio at his time of death. I was off duty that night. I was actually sick, and I had some weird beeping that started taking place on my radio at his time of death. I didn't know he had died at the time. I found out the next day he died. Then the night of his memorial service, we were off duty that night as well, and my radio did the very same thing again. It was like a distress call coming from my radio, and it was at the exact time of his death. I carried that radio for several years after that, and those were the only 2 nights that ever happened. Then a few months later, his ghost or apparition began to appear on Otay Mountain, and it continued to appear for about 7 months, and the apparition actually worked its way across the mountain toward Otay Lakes Dam. I have about 10 different encounters that I documented, the dates they happened, the time they happened, and the places that they happened. I know there were several other encounters concerning this agent that was killed. The illegal aliens began to call him the Phantom Agent. They knew him by name. Once there's one account of him approaching them, carrying his head in his hands, and he talked to them in every instance. He would actually stop the group, make the group stay there until other agents arrived on scene and took them into custody. It was probably the most bizarre series of events in the history of the Border Patrol. It all led to a final encounter that took place on Otay Lakes Dam. It did result in the death of one or two aliens, and one of those was probably a smuggler. It was even theorized later by someone that that smuggler that was killed on the dam that night may have been the one that pushed Agent Luis Santiago off of that cliff that night. After that encounter, there were no more encounters of that apparition. I worked there another 11 years after that, and I never heard of a single encounter after that day. The aliens and the smugglers themselves began to avoid the areas that he was known to be haunting, and even some of the agents began to avoid working those areas. There could be some reports on this one because this one was very common knowledge and it was talked about in the open. This was the only time I ever heard of a paranormal event being talked about out in the open. Everyone virtually knew of it. Even mid-level management was even talking about it and talking about some of the experience that they had concerning this incident. The final encounter that did result in death, and because of the death that resulted from it and several injuries, actually six aliens were chased over that cliff, and they claimed that they were chased over by, according to the FBI said they were chased over by a live agent, but they were never able to identify an agent. They had one picked out that they were trying to pin it on.
Wow. What do you mean, no sound? Huh. Okay. Well, my apologies. Let me just back it up a little bit here so you can hopefully hear the last part again. Well, that's weird. Now I'm getting a feedback.
No,
that's you?
Yeah, because I turned it up to see if there was sound.
Aliens were chased over that cliff, and they claimed that they were chased over by, according to the FBI said they were chased over by a live agent, but they were never able to identify an agent. They had one picked out that they were trying to pin it on, and their investigation actually cleared him. They run all kind of tests on him for paraffin to see if he had fired a weapon that night, see if his weapon had been fired. Everything cleared him, and he was the only person that was anywhere near that area that could have been involved. Supposedly, the FBI's investigation was ended when they were shown, when the surviving aliens were shown a picture of the deceased agent without being told that this agent was deceased, and the FBI also did not know the agent was deceased. And this picture was presented to them of Luis Santiago, and the surviving aliens all identified him as the one that chased them over the cliff, causing the death. And then at that point, the FBI wanted to arrest him, and the agents assisting in the investigation said, well, we can't do that because this agent died on that cliff last year. And that was the end of the investigation. Nobody was ever arrested, and it went nowhere after that.
Wow. Okay. So that's that file. Wow. I think it's absolutely epic. I'm sorry about the sound there. I'm not sure exactly what happened for sure, but here we go.
So this agent
Oops.
fell off. So this agent fell off a cliff, right?
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, he died from coming over a cliff.
Right.
The intrigue comes from the fact that they believe he might have been pushed over the cliff
Right.
by some people he was trying to arrest.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and oddly enough, as his spirit was coming back, there were 6 people pushed over the cliff, and 2 of them died, and one of the people that died was a suspect in possibly being one of them that killed the actual agent. So it's kind of really poetic, that he came back to get his revenge.
Right.
It's a classic story, but this is a guy that knew this agent, went to the training with him and everything. So very, very weird, very wild stuff. I don't know. What do you guys think? But I think that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's kind of disturbing.
It is disturbing, but at the same time, if it's kind of like The Crow, Brandon Lee, right?
Right.
Everybody's rooting for him because he was just totally, brought to an early demise by some really despicable people. So when his avenging spirit came back and just was, mowing through the trash, it was like, yeah, So this is kind of like a living example of The Crow, This guy came back to get his revenge, and apparently was still actively rounding up illegals for the border guards,
Right.
the border patrol to catch. So I don't know. It's pretty interesting. There's one part in there. It says groups observed him come up, holding his head in his hands.
Right.
Now I don't know if that head was disembodied or if he was just holding it like he had a headache. I don't
Like nearly headless.
Yeah, like was he carrying the head and going, freeze, that kind of thing, or what? I'm not sure,
Look
but
deep into my dead eyes.
yeah, it's like Ghost Rider or whatever. But yeah.
Froze, yeah. Oh.
Yep. So I think that story is amazing. Again, sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm manually doing this so that it goes over to TFR as well. So I'm playing the video file through my production software, but I'm playing the audio file through an iPad, which is able to broadcast it through both areas. So YouTube is getting it as well as TFR. So that's where the hiccup came from there, is that I must have inadvertently muted something through the way. And so I think we're back in business and we'll be fine for the other 2. But my apologies, because I do try to have all this stuff ironed out before the live shows. I try. But anyway, very cool story. Hope you guys enjoyed that. And other than the interruption in sound for the YouTube crowd, I think it's pretty powerful. Pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
again, special thanks to Wes Germer for letting us show that. There will be 2 more of those following the next 2 breaks as well. So we'll get to those in the near future here. But we've got some more paranormal fun to get to, Don. And if anybody wants to call in again, 720-923-0500. Again, 923-0500. Those are the numbers for fun here on the Paranormal Portal. And I don't know about you, but I like to have some fun.
Me too.
I know you do, Don.
Me
I know
too.
you do. All right, so the first article I want to read is one that we've been kind of throwing around for a while now. Let's see, we got 12 minutes. Yeah, we can get through this. This is kind of a archaeological kind of article, but I think it's pretty interesting because many people have been throwing around the name of Gobekli Tepe, and a lot of people believe that it could have been assisted by alien astronauts or whatever. The alien astronaut theory often gets mentioned in conjunction with this,
Right.
but oftentimes people are referring to Gobekli Tepe as just a ancient city that for some reason was abandoned. But this article from Curiosmos seems to suggest that Gobekli Tepe is a lost civilization and not just an ancient monument.
Right.
So let's see what this says. I've been holding on to this one for a while, so let's get to it now. This again comes from Curiosmos.com, written by Ivan Petricevic. I'm doing the best I can here.
Can you make that full screen?
Oh, yes, I can. I sure can.
Now I can read it.
There you go. There is enough evidence to suggest that Gobekli Tepe was not just an ancient site, but the remnant of a long-lost ancient civilization absent from history. In present-day Anatolia, Turkey, lay the remnants of the oldest megalithic site on Earth, believed to have been constructed some 13,000 years ago by a mysterious people. The ancient site, identified as Gobekli Tepe, is shrouded in mystery for more reasons than one. It is one of the most enigmatic sites on the planet, and it doesn't fit anywhere within the historical timeline set forth by present historians. This is because there's nothing like it out there. Gobekli Tepe is so old that it should not even exist. Experts maintain that the massive site, which has only been excavated around 5% to date, was built by an uncivilized group of people, most likely hunter-gatherers, but was it really? To find out, we must turn our history books to the year 1994, when German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt discovered the massive complex buried beneath the surface. Although officially discovered and cataloged in 1994, the site was found by American archaeologists in the 60s. Back then, however, not much importance was given to the site because experts thought that the sections of the site that were protruding from the surface were no more than tombstones dating back to the time of the Byzantine Empire.
Wow.
The site was eventually left unexplored until Schmidt came along some 30 years later. Unlike his American colleagues, Schmidt knew that the site was far older than what archaeologists initially thought. Upon seeing the stone fragments, the surface features of Gobekli Tepe led Schmidt to quickly deduce that this was a prehistoric site and not medieval as previously thought. With each exploration, the importance of the site was revealed further. Strangely, for hundreds of years, the site's importance was unnoticed. The hill that makes up the site had been cultivated for generations, and the local inhabitants had removed some of the rocks, piling them in heaps to clear the fields. This is a shame, since many archaeological pieces of evidence have been destroyed during this process. After decades of exploration and excavations, archaeologists say that around 5% of the site has been excavated, although most of it remains underground. Experts have categorized the ancient site as the oldest temple on the planet, while others suggest it may have been an astronomical observatory. I beg to differ. The complexity of the site, its massive size, and its intricate features tell a more fabulous story, one that experts have missed to this date. Gobekli Tepe, civilization or hunter-gatherers. Mainstream experts argue that it is impossible that 12,000 years ago, complex societies existed near the border between present-day Turkey and Syria. The mainstream narrative explains that civilization as we know it did not exist at this time in history. Gobekli Tepe existence is an obvious indicator that this is not so. The sheer size of the site tells us that hunter-gatherers were unlikely the site's founders. The world's oldest megalithic site, the complex of Gobekli Tepe, has a secret to tell. How likely is it that between 12 and 13,000 years ago, a small group of hunter-gatherers decided to erect a supermassive site in the foothills of the Taurus Mountains? Very unlikely if you carefully inspect. Less than 5% of the site excavated to this date. The builders of the site, which I believe were an advanced society, part of a long-lost civilization, missing from our history books, had the ability not only to quarry massive stones, the heaviest of which have been estimated at around 50 tons. Jeez, that's big. Yeah. Not only did the civilization have the ability to quarry the stones, but they also possessed the means to transport the massive material to the site where the structures were raised. Schmidt himself was claimed that the work of quarrying, transporting, and erecting tons of heavy monolithic and almost universally well-prepared limestone pillars was not within the capability of a few people. Unorganized hunter-gatherers or groups of hunter-gatherers would not have needed to build such a site, nor would they have been motivated in the first place. If this were the case, why are we not seeing similar supermassive structures erected around the globe built by hunter-gatherers? Why? Because hunter-gatherers did not build it. Gobekli Tepe predates the Egyptian pyramids by several thousand years. We know that the civilization that built the pyramids was a complex society, developed and skilled, backed by a flourishing economy and ample availability in raw materials. The ancient Egyptians used multi-ton stones to build the pyramids, and although how these amazing structures were built remains a profound mystery, we can propose several theories on how they made it possible. Gobekli Tepe, however, is shrouded in mystery even further. Several thousands of years before the ancient Egyptians, the mysterious society that erected Gobekli Tepe developed the technology to quarry, transport, and position supermassive stones. Most of the stones used in the construction of the site weigh around 10 tons on average. Analysis of the site suggests that there are a total of 20 circles within which lie hundreds of stone pillars. However, only 4 of these circles have been excavated to date.
Wow, I didn't know 20.
I didn't either. That's much bigger than I thought. Hundreds of people. It is nearly impossible to get an idea of the amount of labor necessary to build such a complex and massive site. Archaeologists estimate that it took more than 500 people to extract the stones ranging of between 10 and 20 tons, although some weigh more than 50, from local quarries and move them between the quarries and the construction site. Were hunter-gatherers really capable of organizing such massive workforce some 13,000 years ago? And if so, what motivated them to do this? Some experts argue that slaves may have been used to complete its construction, but there is no evidence to support that theory to date. You do not build a site the size of Gobekli Tepe. Sorry, that's a weird word for me. Randomly. To build something such proportion requires planning, it requires practice, and a sense of architecture and engineering. The incredible size of Gobekli Tepe is evidence that its builders had knowledge, advanced knowledge, of planning, engineering, and refined sense of architecture and art. The site is not randomly built, but all of its pillars and circles follow a pattern that reveals the complexity of the site. The workmanship present at the site suggests that its builders were a society well versed in various sciences, including geometry and even perhaps mathematics, which is a mathematic, right? Isn't geometry a mathematic?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. Predating metallurgy and writing, these structures at Gobekli Tepe do not predate the invention of ceramics, metallurgy, writing, or the wheel, but were erected before the so-called Neolithic Revolution. In other words, the construction of Gobekli Tepe implies an organization at a level of complexity not associated until now with pre-Neolithic societies. This leads us to question whether ordinary hunter-gatherers who did not possess knowledge of writing, and therefore planning, could have erected such a complex site. The complexity of Gobekli Tepe was confirmed in a 2020 study that demonstrated that its builders had a profound knowledge of applied geometry. The study, published at the Cambridge Archaeological Journal, reveals that Gobekli Tepe was far more advanced than originally thought, and that its construction required much more complex planning and resources than previous estimates. As explained earlier, the planning required to construct Gobekli Tepe was unlike anything ever seen at that part of history. Researchers have demonstrated that Gobekli Tepe's circles were not built individually and randomly, but were planned as a single unit and were constructed simultaneously. Well, that implies a much bigger society.
Yeah.
One of the researchers of the study revealed that the initial discovery of the site was a big surprise, and we're now showing that its construction was even more complex than we thought. Gobekli Tepe is a true geometric wonder, one that was not built by ordinary hunter-gatherers.
I would have to say no.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That doesn't make sense. If they were just hunter-gatherers and had village, why would they need these incredibly ornate structures?
Right.
Perhaps one of the most fascinating telltale signs that back up the theory of Gobekli Tepe is a civilization are the results of a scientific paper published in the journal Nature, Ecology, and Evolution. The researchers offer conclusive evidence that the ancestors of the builders of Stonehenge originated from present-day Anatolia in Turkey, the region where Gobekli Tepe stands.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is. An extensive study of DNA from late Stone Age Britain indicates that the ancestors of the people that built Stonehenge followed a long migratory route along the Mediterranean, starting in Turkey, seeding along the way knowledge of megalithic building. Furthermore, the researchers believe that the distant travelers from present-day Turkey likely were the ones who introduced agriculture and farming to the people of Britain thousands of years ago. Well, there's a lot more here, but we're down to about 30 seconds. But anyway.
Well, I find that interesting that they only mentioned that the pyramids. They didn't talk about the Sphinx.
Right.
Why is that?
Well, I don't know. I think that's, the fact that the Sphinx is older, I think, stands on its own accord, but it's not widely accepted by our modern archaeologists. Right. So.
Well, yeah, but it's just weird because there is evidence that it's been there for 13,000 years.
Yeah. I put links to the story in the both chats, so if any of you out there want to read further about what it says, but I think he's got some great points. So what happened to the people that built it? Who knows? Maybe they were the Atlanteans. Who knows? All right, folks, we're going to go to our hour break. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. We'll get into another Germer file on the other side. Don't go away.
Truth Frequency Radio is your number one source for news and information without the hate.
Everybody likes to play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace the lines upon my body, ripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me. Their lies keep falling apart. But I'm not broken yet. I'm not broken yet. Finished with my silence. I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness. Just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise. You're just another fucking mess. Taking another slice of my sanity. Just make sure that you're well fed.
You break me down, you take me down.
I'm not broken yet. I'm not broken yet. I'm not broken yet.
those she's with, they're attracted to the one thing about her that's different from themselves. Her life force is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances have fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
You just never know what's going to happen here on the portal. You just never know. An impromptu puppet show by our very own Longbeard.
Or that spider that's just about to touch down.
Where? Oh, yeah, there he is. Little guy. Little dinky thing. There, go over there, little man. You're in my way. You're in my flow. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to part 2 of our show tonight. Hour number 2 is now officially underway. You've made it this far.
You might as well stay for the rest.
You might as well finish it. And what better way to lead into hour number 2? How about a Germer file? Are you ready?
I am not a Germer file.
Oh, Jesus. Maybe I should rename that. I never considered that version of it. Yeah. Expect an edit in the near future, folks. Until then, here we go.
Yeah, I got a couple of them I'll share with you. They both happened at the same place. I don't want to get real specific, but in the place. But this place is of historical interest, and it's managed by a state agency. And at the time this first incident happened, it was not open to the public. It was it was just sitting there. And this is a big house. That's as close as I'll get to identifying it. It's a very large, old home. And I was on patrol. This was a graveyard shift. And in this area at that point in time, there were 2 officers on graveyards. I'd been on the road for a couple of years. And my partner that night had a canine, a big German Shepherd male. And I'd been around the dog a lot, and the dog was absolutely fearless. And we got an alarm call one night. Our dispatcher, we had a scrambled channel at the time that kept scanners from picking us up. And dispatcher came up and said, hey, this other agency doesn't have anybody around. They've got a motion sensor, silent motion sensor alarm out at this place. And they're wondering if we check on it. Well, cops like silent alarms because that means we get a chance to catch the bad guy. People like loud audible alarms because it makes the bad guy run away. So that makes perfect sense. But we were tickled that this was a silent, and it was multiple motion sensors on a set of stairs. We came up with a plan. We parked about 200 yards away from this place in the dark. Got the dog, and we'd been told where the hidey key was to get in the back door. And the only light, there was no electricity in this house at the time, and the only light was an really old school, like 40-watt porch light bulb on the back door. So we went to the back door, found the hidey key, and we got the alarm code. So we walked in, and we shut the alarm down while we were doing our sweep. So we went through the downstairs area, and nothing. And this is a big building. There's rooms everywhere. And we secured the downstairs rooms before we went upstairs. And then we went upstairs and went room to room, clearing the rooms and announcing ourselves at every room. Police department, if you're in there, come out now. We have a canine. It would be better if you come out now. And no answer. And all the doors were open to these rooms. We come to the last room and the door is locked. So we're thinking, okay, they're in there. This is the room they're hiding in. So the same announcement, police department, we know you're in there. We need you to come out. Come out now, or, there's going to be an issue. No response. So I pulled a credit card out of my wallet and I slipped the door lock. And we opened the door. And Wes, let me paint this picture for you. This was summer. It was probably still 75 degrees outside at, 2:00 in the morning. We're wearing old style body armor, and this building was closed up tight. And it was like walking into a blast furnace when we went inside it. We were sweating, just sweat rolling off us by the time we opened this door. When we opened that door, it was like walking into a deep freeze, a walk-in freezer. Both of us felt the cold hit. Same thing. Sheriff's office, we went back to the routine. Sheriff's office, come in or we're going to send in the dog. And at that point, my partner had a way where what they did was they call it barked up the dog. So, a lot of people say you got a dog, say they got a dog, but the best way to prove it is to let them hear the dog. So he had the dog bark, which would have brought any sane human being singing, "I'm right here, come get me." No response. So being the junior guy, I get sent into the room. Now, this is about a probably 14 by 16 or 14 by 18 room, and it's upstairs, and the roof is it's up on top, so the roof is angled. And the ceiling in one side of the room is like 5 feet tall, and in the other side of the room it's 10 feet tall. It's open beam. In the middle of the room were 5 or 6 of these clothing racks with wheels on them. If you're in a clothing store, you see clothes that are rolling around. So there's 3 or 4 of these in the middle of this room with old clothing on them. So we can't see the whole entire interior of the room. So I, being the junior guy, I make entry into the room, and I go around and I search the whole room, and it's the whole time I'm in there, I can see my breath. It's 100 degrees everywhere else in that house, and in this room, I can see my breath. I went from wringing wet with sweat to cold in 10 seconds. So we get to I get to the other side of back to the door, and my partner standing there and his flashlight's on, and we were carrying standard cop flashlights for the day, Streamlight SL20s. They're rechargeable lights, and we had chargers in the car, so the lights they're always charged up. Within about 10 seconds, both of our flashlights went dead. It's pitch black in the room, but we both carried little backup lights with regular D-cell, or actually ours were AA's in them. So I told him, I said, "There's nobody in here." The dog would not cross the threshold, Wes. The dog stood at the door. We were going to send the dog in. This is what I didn't tell you first. We were going to send the dog in before we went in because we didn't know what was in there, right? Or who was in there. The dog's hackles were up on his back. His teeth were barred, and he would not make entry into that room. This dog absolutely went nuts anytime he got a chance to put the bite on somebody. He lived for those moments. He lived for responding to I've worn the sleeve for him before in training, and he was an incredible canine. He would not go across the threshold. So that's why I went in and made the search. And I came back and I told my partner, he's the senior guy, I said, "Hey man, there ain't nobody in here, but can you feel that cold?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, absolutely." And then about that time, both our lights went. Within 15 seconds, both our lights. The thing with those old stream lights is when they went out, they didn't give you much warning. So So what happened then is we went back down the stairs. We cleared the building. There was nobody in there except for that room. We went back downstairs, and there was a phone on the wall there. So I called my dispatcher and said, get the alarm company on the phone and get their dispatch for this other agency on a conference. So we got them all three on the phone. I said, hey, we just cleared this building. I didn't say anything about that room upstairs. I just said, we've cleared this building. We're going to reset the alarm and go outside and leave, and they're, well, thank you very much, etc. So that's what we did. I reset the alarm. We went out the door, locked it, put the hide key back, and we walked back down to the cars. And we're standing there discussing what we had just experienced. And my dispatcher hits me on the scramble channel on my handset again and said, the alarm's going off again, same place. Motion sensors, staircase. So we went back and repeated this same process in the exact same order, except the door to that room was not closed. It was open the way we'd left it, and it was hot in there. Well, we were on graveyard, right? We got off at 7:30. So I left a note. Actually, I told the oncoming day shift sergeant, I said, hey, call this agency, have their guy contact their alarm company and send them out there to check this freaking alarm and make sure it's not, so there's not something wrong with it. Because I'll be candid with you, probably 70% of the alarm calls we rolled to are malfunctions or owner operator. So we didn't take them very seriously, but my partner had been with the agency for over 10 years and he didn't even know the place was alarmed. It had never gone off. And then when I got back to work for Graves again that night, there's a note there from the sergeant. He says, hey, alarm company checked it out. It's all well and good. So now fast forward probably 8 years. And this place is in a area that we patrol. Okay. And there's a large gate big enough to put 2 semis through next to each other. That's normally open during the hours that the facility was open, but that building was still closed. Okay. But the facility's open for tours because it's a historical place. And this gate is always closed at night. Well, I roll by there and spotlight the gate and it's open. So I get out of my patrol car, tell dispatch, hey, I'm going to check and see what's going on. Once in a blue moon, there'd be somebody working there late at night doing maintenance on something, but this wasn't not one of those nights. So I walk in and I look to my right and there's a light on. They have a room inside there that they show a film about the historical significance of this building. And I've taken my family there, I used to take my kids there when they were young. So I knew the layout of the place and they've sat there and watched that film. Well, the light was on in there. So I walked down there and I looked in the door and what I saw, this is a little difficult to say because I know it's difficult to believe. What I saw was somebody I thought was what they call a docent, which is somebody that volunteers at the facility and dresses up in period clothing and, gives tours and turns the projector on and that stuff. I thought I saw a female standing against the wall in there that was dressed like a docent, And I thought, man, it's 1:00 in the morning. There's no cars out in the parking lot. What's she doing here? So I tap on the window on the door, and she turns and looks at me and turns around and disappears into the wall. And I have a witness because I immediately got on my handset and I had a partner on. And I said, I called a guy who I've been, very good friends with and worked very well together for 20 plus years. I called him on the radio. I said, hey man, get your butt up here. So he came up and I told him, you meet me at the corner of the building there. There's no lights on, and I'm darked out, but I'll let you know when you're close. So he comes walking up and I say, hey man, I said, do me a favor. Go down and look in the window there to that room and tell me if you see a docent standing there. He goes, there's nobody up here now, man. What do you do? I said, just do what I'm asking you to. He goes down there. He looks in the window, turns back and looks at me and says, yeah, she's there. And he turns back and looks again. And the color just drained completely out of his face because I can see it in the glow from the light coming out of the room on him. And he goes, exclaimed a couple profanities and said, she's gone, man.
Wow. That's so epic.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That'll get you up in the morning.
Yes, it will.
Those are some amazing encounters. And I think, again, it's a trained observer. A police officer is generally a trained observer and isn't likely to just, jump into flights of fancy about things. And not that any of us are that have had experiences, but you can hear in his voice that this must have really rattled him at the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got a real deliberate delivery and all of that, but you can tell this was a pretty significant experience in his life. Yep. And I believe him. I mean, I clearly believe what he's saying. But excellent video. Thank you again, Wes, for that. And we're going to be showcasing one more before the show's over after the next break. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys are enjoying the Germer Files because they're excellent videos. And you can check out all of the ones that we've showcased on the show and many more. Wes is he's really spitting these things out, several a day, over on the Sasquatch Chronicles YouTube page. And so you can check them out over there. But yeah, it was a good one. You're right, Wen. That was pretty awesome. Good to see you. Good to see you, Jake. I'm glad you stopped in, brother. Hope you and Adam are doing great. Jake, of course, is our good friend from Blue Line Bigfoot, and he and Adam are investigators.
I think Adam's here.
Is he?
I saw him a bit ago.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I'm glad if you're both here. Fantastic. We've missed you guys, but it's great to see you turn up again. Glad you found your way back. We missed you. So, anyway, but that was the second Germer File of the night. There'll be one more to come. Again, the phones are open, 720-923-0500. If you've got something to say. David says, I love them so far. Yeah, me too. I mean, it's been a lot of fun, and quite honestly, it's a real honor to be able to showcase them here on the show, on the portal. We played Travis Walton's on Wednesday night.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And we got the exclusive on that one because that one wasn't even live. Except the original interview, of course, was live on the archives.
If you want to dig that far back in the archive.
Yeah, but it was a great talk with Travis Walton, and that was really fun. So I've enjoyed doing these. I hope you guys are enjoying them. And again, definitely head over to Sasquatch Chronicles, get subscribed, and check them out over there too. But we'll continue to showcase them here on the show as long as Wes will keep letting us. And maybe even if he says no. No, I'm just kidding. We wouldn't do that to him. But we got an article to get to now, ladies and gentlemen, before the next break. We got about 7 minutes left, so then we're going to hit the break and come back and do another one. But this is from justforspooks.com, and 26 people share their creepiest encounters they can't explain. And I like these articles from justforspooks.com, and basically what they do is they just aggregate some Reddit claims that people are making of their paranormal experiences. Not that that's, diminishes the work at all. These are great. These are all, allegedly firsthand encounters. Can't vouch for the authenticity of any of them, but these are what people are saying happened to them. So let's check it out. These are 26 people share their creepiest encounters they can't explain. Number one time I was on a 15-hour drive and had to pull over to a rest stop to get some sleep. I quickly passed out and had the strangest dream of people trying to kill me at a rest stop. Oh, hi, Anubis. When I woke up from the dream, there was a smiley face on the inside of my windshield. Needless to say, I hauled the second I woke up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would do. I mean, I'd be out of there. That was submitted by Undead Goat 18. Wow, that's creepy. Number 2 on this list, when I was about 8, I had one of those loft beds. And one night I woke up at around 3 a.m. and the top of my hand was super itchy. Scratched it, and a bunch of slimy stuff scratched off. Ew. And it hurt worse than anything I'd ever experienced. I started screaming and crying, and my mom ran into the room and flicked the lights on. The skin on the top of my hand had a serious burn, and my skin had basically melted off.
Oh.
It was disgusting. My bed was nowhere near an outlet, and my bedroom light was in the middle of the room, away from my bed and off. My mom searched everything in the house, but nothing was even remotely warm. Oven, stove, baseboard heaters, etc. There was no evidence I even left my room. I had a nice scar for a few years, but it faded pretty much nothing unless I get really tanned. No idea. That was by Halabeam. Yikes. That makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Like, is that some non-human entity, some kind of creature that happened in? Was that some abduction scenario? What could it be? I don't know.
Some strange gelatinous goo.
Yeah, that's the creepy part. It's like, what the hell made that? And it just boiled the skin up. And then it itched and they scratched. And, of course, like it was a blister, it just peeled off. Oof, poor kid. That must have been an agony. Number 3 on this list, I was in a brand new apartment that had white carpet.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I know, who would ever put in white carpet? I love stains. This was before I moved anything in. So the apartment was completely empty. I had to replace a light bulb, so I was standing on a stepladder unscrewing the glass dome with a large black and yellow screwdriver when the screwdriver slipped out of my hands. I felt/saw it hit my elbow, and then I turned my head away so it wouldn't hit me in the eyes. I didn't feel anything, so I figured it must have bounced away from my body after hitting my elbow, but I never heard it hit the floor. So again, this is a completely empty apartment with white carpet floors, and I just dropped a black screwdriver, except I never once heard the screwdriver hit the floor, and it just went missing. I never did find that screwdriver. Wow, that's creepy. That was by Dong Holio.
Dong Holio. Oh, my goodness.
It's Dong Holio. Yikes.
Cosmic Fleur says, I woke up with a burn on my leg, still have a scar.
Ooh.
Bad burn, strange stuff.
That is strange. I wonder what's going on. Very weird.
Paradox says something very similar.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, you guys got to send your stories in. I want to hear this stuff. Very
why are
cool.
you guys holding out on us?
Yeah, you dump this
Just write
stuff.
like emails or, call and talk to Brent
sorry,
and record it. Goodness.
Well, number 4, my friend's mom gave me a cactus. Years later, she died, and the next day it started flowering. This is the only time it flowered in 5 years. That was by Look Behind You.
Oh, boy.
I love these names. Number 5, when I was a dumb young kid, I was on the phone with a friend late at night, and some guy called up and said he was with the phone company and they were doing work on my block. He described my block perfectly and said he wanted to verify my address. I probably should have said you guys should know that already, but again, dumb young kid. I continued talking to my friend and started to regret giving this stranger any info. He called back maybe 20 minutes later and said, Matt, are you scared yet? Never found out who that was, how they knew my name, and why they were messing with me. That was by M2J. Yeah, that's creepy. Oof. You don't want to give out personal information.
No.
Yeah. Number 6 on our list, I used to go for nighttime runs around my apartments in the museum district in Houston.
Hey, dum-dum, you bring gum-gum.
One night, I saw a young girl, about 17 years old, walking towards me on an otherwise empty street. She was wearing a purple T-shirt, ripped jeans, bet she has black eyes, just saying, and smoking a cigarette in a very unusual way. As I passed her, she maintained her downward blank gaze and carried on without acknowledging me. As I went to conclude my run, I took a path down another street, parallel to the above-mentioned, towards my apartment. I noticed a cigarette glare in the dark from a figure that was walking in my direction. As the figure approached, I noticed it was a 70-year-old woman smoking her cigarette in the same unusual way as the 17-year-old girl. She had the same purple T-shirt, same ripped jeans, and the same blank downward gaze. Ooh, that's a lot creepy. Oof. Number 7. This happened in the mid-90s. In western New York. Well, I don't know if I'll have time for this. No, I won't. I'm going to wait on this one, ladies and gentlemen, because we're down to about a minute left. And I pride myself on reading fast, but I'm not that fast. I'll read number 9. One night during college, I woke up at 2:30 a.m. Can't explain why, but I immediately jumped out of bed and started getting dressed. I was completely dressed and just starting to wonder what I was doing when the phone rang. It was one of my best friends. She said she had tried acid at a party earlier and was on a bad trip. She was terrified of everything and had been hiding under a table for about half an hour, trying to get to the phone to call me. Somehow I knew and was getting ready to get to her before she even called for help. Still don't know how to explain that.
Huh.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Don't play with drugs. Just say no. All right, folks. We are going to go to the last break of the night. We'll come back, do another Germer file, and then we'll continue.
Hi, Elaine. Hi, Nessie.
Hi, Elaine. Hi, Nessie. Where you guys been? We miss you. Love you bunches. Thanks for coming in. But we'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Don't go away for more of the Paranormal Portal.
is Truth Frequency Radio.
No hate, no hype, no fear. Real people, real radio.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the home stretch, the last half hour of the show. Thank you all for sticking with us. And as I promised, we'll have another Germer file launching here just momentarily. So we'll get through that. We'll talk a little bit more, and by golly, that'll be a show. But don't go anywhere. This is a really good one. This one's kind of a creepy story. Has to do with some exorcisms and stuff. So
Exorcisms?
Yeah, not the kind where you lose weight. Well, you might, but
I thought that was an exorcism.
It's an exorcism. Yes. All right. So let's get right to that, folks. Right now, as I line up my buttons and stuff to manually do this. And here we go.
I'll tell you a story that happened 7-8 years ago now. I'm not great with years, but I'm going to say 7 or 8 years ago. I had a lady from another country come and visit our church, and it was an adult Bible study night. We did adult Bible studies back then on Wednesday night, and she came forward immediately after my lesson and said, Pastor, would you pray for me? And I said, sure. She said, I'm not feeling well. I've got something going on with my stomach. And so I reached over and put my hand very gently on her forehead and began to pray for her. When I did, her eyes rolled back in her head. All I could see was the whites of her eyes, and she started growling like a man. And, of course, it was not my first rodeo. I knew right then, okay, it's going to be a long evening. So I assembled a very quick team of people that I've worked with in the past. A number of the people that are with me have been with me 10, 15 years, and I've trained them. And I said, I need you guys to stay a little while. So we told the congregation, you guys might want to go out and, go to the restaurant, wherever you're going to go, and leave. We've got some situations here we have to deal with. So she had 2 girls. One was 6 and one was 3 at the time. And I assigned another young married couple to take the 2 daughters to avoid any trauma on them, to take them to a different part of the building. They walked out of the sanctuary and closed that door, went across the hallway and into a smaller room that we use for venues that seats about 100 people. And so we had tables in there with toys. And so this couple went in and closed all the doors and gave them a safe place to play. So we started dealing with this woman. And when you're dealing with demons, the way I do it, I'm not saying this has to be done every time, but I ask the entity, what is your name? I think I was shocked the first few times that I did that because of the names. Suicide, hatred, unforgiveness, rage, murder, mayhem. And these are legitimate names that their names are their assignments. My name is suicide. My name is, like, for example, in the Bible, my name is Legion, for we are many. Okay, which happened on Gadara, island of the Gadarenes. Yeah. Okay, my name is Legion, for we are many. Okay, so we had cast several demons out of this lady. And what she had done is she was from, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, she was from Cuba, and so people approached her and said, would you like to live in America? And she said yes. And I said, well, if you will let us put our spirits in you, then we'll send you for free. And so she went for the session, whatever it was, woke up 3 days later without any clothes on, laying in their temple, and was very demon possessed. And they sent her on to America. So anyway, to make a long story short, we're casting demons out, and I get to one that is mocking us. And another thing that they'll do many times is they will speak in an ancient language. You say, what is your name? And they'll give you something in an ancient language. Or they'll mock you and say, I don't have to tell you. I'm not coming out. I own this person. They belong to me. And so you can't be intimidated. Or they'll say, you don't have the power. They'll laugh at you. They'll cuss you. You don't have the power. Better men than you have tried to take me out, on and on. So you just have to stay after it. What is your name? What is your name? And not converse with them. So anyway, after quite a bit of mocking, I got firm and I said, "What is your name?" And this demon screamed, "Snake!" And when it screamed snake, she fell over on the floor and started wiggling like a snake. And I would say it would have had to have been done with supernatural assistance, because I've never seen a body move like that. She literally slithered like a snake across the floor without using her hands or feet. Her hands were down by her side, her toes were pointed, and she's slithering like a snake. Well, we don't allow, at least my group that I work with, we don't allow a lot of demonstrations. So we just very gently got down beside her and stopped her from slithering without hurting her and held her down. While we're holding her down, within 30 seconds, the door swings open and the man that's watching her daughters from the other part of the building comes running across, about 40 feet across the front of our altar area, and said, "What's going on in here?" And I looked up at him and I said, "Why? Why are you asking?" He said, "Because we're watching her daughters, and her 6-year-old was working with a game, just fell out of her chair and started slithering across the floor like a snake." So when we stopped the mother from slithering like a snake, the daughter simultaneously fell on the floor and began to manifest and slither like a snake. Now, I'm either crazy, I'm 3 French fries short of a Happy Meal, my driveway doesn't go all the way to the garage, or I'm telling you the truth. That world is very real. I wished everybody in your audience had a front row seat to when an entity from those other dimensions comes forward and starts trying to take over the eyes and the mouth and start working the body. They have a very difficult time. When they come forward, when I command them, "Come forward now and tell me who you are," they'll start taking over the eyes. I've seen the eyes spin in opposite directions, and one be looking up and one be looking down while the spirit's trying to adjust. The strangest thing you've ever seen in your life. A friend of mine, young guy, was pastoring a church in Minnesota, and he lived in the church. He actually lived in an apartment in the back of the church. And so it was real late one night, and a couple of young guys started beating. They knew he lived there, and they started beating on the door. And so he went down and answered the door. It was well after midnight, and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And they're crying, and they're like, "You need to let us in. We're in trouble, and we need help." So he said, "What's going on?" And he's holding them outside because he doesn't know. Are these kids going to rob him? What's happening? So he said, "What's going on? You got to tell me what's going on." They said, "Well, there were 3 of us, and we were playing with a Ouija board tonight. We went out and we were playing in one of their backyards. They were playing with the Ouija board. And this entity started answering them. And they finally asked the entity what its name was, and it gave them a really strange name. And one of the kids said, "What the blank kind of name is that?" And it answered, "I'm a demon." And this kid started yelling at the demon and making fun of him and making fun of the other kids. And "This is all stupid, and you're not there, and I don't buy this." And the 2 boys said that the Ouija board literally floated up off the ground several inches, and then flew at this kid that was mocking the Ouija board and slapped him in the face and literally rolled him backwards. And when the kid stopped rolling, he sat up and he was growling, and he started cussing and coming after the boys and tearing at them. And so they started running. They were running all over the neighborhood trying to get away from this kid. And they realized this is real. This kid, it's not our friend anymore. This is a demon trying to hurt us bad. So they ran to the only person they thought could help them was this guy in the church, this pastor. And the pastor was wondering, are these kids telling me the truth? But he looked out, and somewhere across the parking lot, not too far away, there were some bushes or whatever. And this kid was hiding behind the bushes, growling and carrying on. So somehow, some way, they went. He called another preacher that got up, got his clothes on, drove over there, And they went out and got this kid and got him to come into the church, and they set him down and cast the demons out of him. So, my advice to all of your followers, the people that are listening to this broadcast, is, well, let me just be very frank about it. If you've never played with one, don't. If you have one in your home, get rid of it as fast as you can. Don't ever play with it. It's not something to be played with. Many instances of people becoming demon possessed through Ouija boards.
Amen.
That is, that's just creepy.
It is, yeah. It's very creepy. Very wild stuff. Well, there you have it. That was the last Germer file to the night. But as you can see, they've been absolutely epic. Yeah. I think they should be used very cautiously. If you're going to use them at all, I think if you don't know what you're doing, don't touch them. But I'm not of the opinion that they're intrinsically evil, but I just know that it's gone real sideways for a lot of people that didn't know what they were getting into and weren't prepared for the experience. Mm-hmm. And it's that's a whole different take. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like rubbing yourself up with
bacon grease
and going and doing some squatching. It's like maybe you'll have nothing happen, but if you do, it might really be bad. But anyway, there you have it. But a special thanks again to Wes Germer letting us play those on the show. Those are awesome. It's been an absolute honor to showcase them here on the portal. And it's kind of groovy. It's just really an honor. So we are going to get back to that article now. So if you're ready, are you ready, Don?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, here we go. We're going back to the article, and this is, again, justforspooks.com. 26 people share the creepiest encounters that they can't explain. All right, number 7 on this list. This happened in the mid-90s in western New York, but I remember it clearly. My friend and I went hiking with his dogs in the woods by his house. The area is a mix of woods with fields in between, and one day we decided to go explore in a different direction than the usual path that we took. It was just before winter, so it was cool, about 50 degrees Fahrenheit and overcast. All the leaves were off the trees already. We cross a few fields in the wooded areas and come to a field with a lone tree in the center. From a distance, we notice the tree looks strange. There's something on almost all of the branches that doesn't look right. We decided to have a closer look. What we found was that the things on the branches were dead woodchucks. Oh, that's creepy. But they weren't just dead, they were completely skinned. No fur, no signs of fur, just lidless, muscle-exposed woodchucks facing out in every direction. Teeth exposed, looking like some creatures out of a horror movie. Dozens of them, and they all seemed fresh. There was no stink or signs of decay, but it was cool enough to slow decomposition. With visions of some weird Texas Chainsaw Massacre family living nearby, we decided to call it a day, and as we're making our way back, we're leaving the last field and entering the last stretch of woods before his house. I look back across the field, and in the center of it is an animal, slightly bigger than either of the adult German shepherds that we had with us, that I could not identify. I grew up in the area and spent a lot of time hiking, biking, and camping, and consider myself to be pretty familiar with the wildlife in the area. This thing was bigger than a coyote, and its hind legs were shorter than the front, and its hips were low to the ground, and it had a large square head. The closest thing I can think of is a hyena, which really doesn't make much sense, and I asked my friend, "What the hell is that?" And he said, "I don't know, but keep walking so the dogs don't see it, or will be a bloodbath on our hands," or something to that effect. So we did. The dogs never saw it, and we never could figure out what it was. The tree and the animal were probably unrelated, but the two events occurring at the same time made it a very creepy experience. Dead, skinless woodchuck tree and a hyena-like animal in western New York on the same day. Here are the Google coordinates of the general vicinity. Well, there they are. If anybody's interested, 42.950711 and negative 77.202959. The tree does not appear to be there anymore. That was Glenn Fiddich wrote that. That's creepy. I don't know what, some people are have a real twisted idea of decorating, and I just think it's a good thing they did it outside. If they're going to decorate that way at all, but those poor woodchucks, what the hell they do?
Well, I tell you what, I don't know if you know this or not, but woodchucks are basically like woodchucks. They're chipmunks, right? They're chipmunks.
Okay.
They taste just as good as squirrel.
But how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Who cares? It's good on the grill.
You twisted bastard. Number 8 on the list. First incident, lying in bed with my girlfriend, bickering about something. We weren't arguing, but just kind of disagreeing about something. I can't remember what. The lights are off, and it's pretty dark. Suddenly, I hear all the hangers in the closet across the room violently move. I go to get up and turn on the light. But girlfriend has a death grip on me. And I'm like, babe, I got to check this out. She won't let go. So I pick her up and carry her to the light switch and flip it on. The hangers are all over the ground, thrown all around the room like someone came up and snapped the hell out of them. The rack is still intact, and I have no idea what happened. Second incident, several years ago, I was laying in bed with my girlfriend. We both hear this loud bang. I can't stress how loud it was. I thought someone was breaking into the house. I hurry up and throw on some pants and tell my girlfriend to be ready to call the police if I holler. I'm looking throughout the house and can't find anything. Not a single thing out of place. So I go back to bed, but I'm lying awake, listening for any more sounds. A few more minutes go by and I'm still wide awake. I shoot up and scream, "What the hell?" I swear someone had just grabbed my foot and given it a bit of a squeeze.
Wow.
The next day I went through the house trying to recreate the bang we heard. The only thing that came close was if I picked up one of our kitchen chairs and forcefully threw it back down to the floor. No, who wrote that? They deleted it. So
you threw it at the floor, and it only came close.
Yep.
To making that noise.
Only came close. It wasn't a match. Number 9, one night during college, I woke up at 2:30 a.m. Can't explain why, but I immediately jumped out of bed and started getting dressed. I was completely dressed and just started to wonder what I was doing. This one I read already, isn't it? Never mind, that was the acid trip one. I skipped ahead. Number 10. I'm not sure if this counts, but it happened last week and really creeped me out. I was friends with a girl when I was a teenager. Not the best friends, but we went to the same school, and I would go over and hang out at her house after school sometimes. She was extremely quiet in school and had no friends, so her mom would ask my mom to send me around so she would have someone to hang out with. Well, I didn't mind because she was quite funny, and we talked a bit when it was just the two of us. And anyway, we fell out of touch for a long time ago, and I haven't spoken to her or seen her in years, like 15 years, I'd say. Well, last week I was at my desk at work, and she just popped into my head for some reason. I was just working, and I thought of her. Specifically, my thought was, is she alive or dead? I don't know why I thought that specifically, so I made a mental note to ask my mom the next time we spoke. Then 2 days later, I get an email from my mom. A bit of sad news. She died on Monday. It creeped me right out. My logical mind tells me it's just a weird coincidence, but it really shook me when I got the email. I haven't thought of her in so long, and it was the day she died that she popped into my head. And that was by Is Mrs. Steph? Okay. All right. Very cool, though. I guess, maybe that was her way of saying goodbye. It's just giving you that thought or something. Number 11, as a teenager, my parents moved into another house because our previous one caught fire. One morning, I woke up smelling breakfast, and I'm like, hell yeah, Mom's cooking pancakes, bacon, and eggs. I mean, the smell was right on the money. My brother and I get up to see no one cooking, and my mom asleep. Okay, whatever. Tell my mom about it later, and she looks crazy shocked. said the landlord told her jokingly about it being haunted by an elderly lady that cooks breakfast sometimes. She never told us until then. Only time it ever happened.
Nice.
That was by Harry Manback 91.
Oh, no.
What is a man back? Take your sweater off. It is. The old hairy man thing. Sorry. All right, number 12. When I was about 8, I woke up at my grandparents' house and to my cousin saying, "Wake up. Let's play hide and go seek." I looked around and I couldn't find her, and she said, "Don't quit. Come and find me." Well, I searched high and low. She spoke to me in all different parts of the house, and finally I burst into my parents' room and said, "Is Ellen hiding in here?" And they said, "She isn't coming until tomorrow." Ooh. That was by Stink Snake.
Oh my.
Stink Snake. Well, that's kind of creepy. Somebody was playing hide and seek. Mm-hmm. All right, number 13. From when I was about 5 until about 7, I used to see faces outside my second floor bedroom window all the time. We were living in a tiny farmhouse in a heavily wooded, secluded area, and obviously nobody was out there, but every night I'd see them. Some were just normal faces. Others had weird expressions, and others were horribly distorted and disfigured. I still distinctly remember seeing those faces, but up until recently I chalked it up as a false memory and insanely overactive imagination. About 7 years ago, we moved out of that house, and a family friend, Jake, purchased it. Jake had a daughter, Lily, who was, at the time this took place, 5 years old, about 2 years ago. I went over there for a visit, and Jake asked my boyfriend for some advice, since he was studying to be a doctor. Every night, Lily claims she sees faces in her window, and she won't go to sleep. Anything you can recommend to me? Turns out, Lily's room is my old room, and she's the same age as I was when I started seeing them. I just about died. I'm a science fanatic, and I don't believe in this kind of thing, but for the life of me, I can't explain my way out of this one. That was Newsies on a Mission. Number 14 is too big. I can't read that in 3 minutes.
You know what? Send me that, would you? I got a project I want to start working on.
Which one?
Send me the link to that.
To this page?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Copy. Sending it to the beard.
The bearded one.
Is it a portal project?
It could be.
Oh, cool. Okay. Boom.
Don't get your hopes up. I don't have a whole lot of spare time, but
well,
there's something I do want to do. So
okay, well there it is. It's sent to you. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been a hell of a journey. Again, special thanks to Wes Germer and Sasquatch Chronicles for letting us play his Sasquatch Chronicles shorts videos that he's been making. Those are absolutely amazing. It's been a lot of fun to cover them. I know you guys are enjoying them. It's awesome. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, but you guys, I just want to thank you all so much for showing up over and over again to hang out with us. It's just an honor to be doing a show that you guys continually want to show up for.
Yeah,
that is the coolest thing in the world. So,
and it's nice to see some people who haven't been here in a while. Nessie, Jake, Ellen.
We'll expect your excuses slipped
Elaine
in the office when you get a chance.
Yeah. I want to see those doctor notes.
Doctor notes. All right. Well, it's good to see you guys come back, and always it's a rare pleasure to do these shows, but it's even a bigger thrill just to know that many of you guys
actually wants to listen to
somebody
us.
shows up. It's like, wow, really? So you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for all the love. Thank you to all of you who are out there spreading the word about the portal to anybody who will listen. We really appreciate that. We are just literally like 8 subs short of 9,000 subscriptions now.
Yeah.
And so we got to turn that last 10 or that last 8 and hit that 9,000 mark. Then we can march on to 10,000 when we're going to have a huge celebration. We're going to have a big epic thing with giveaways and games and stuff for all you guys and a bunch of guests to show up for the 10,000 subscriber show.
Huh.
So we got to get there first.
Yeah, we do.
So help us spread the word. Please feel free to share these on your social media. What happened?
Dear Don, Nessie has been busy. Signed, Dr. Nessie.
Well, that'll work. That'll do.
I guess
that'll do.
Here's your pass.
Yeah, but thank you guys so much for being here, being a part of what we're doing. Keep an eye out for the new podcast tomorrow. That'll be, or no, on Sunday.
Sunday, not
Sunday.
tomorrow.
Yep, not tomorrow. Tomorrow, Saturday.
Sunday.
I can't keep the days straight anymore because you're here sometimes Friday, sometimes Saturday.
Wow, it's been crazy.
Who am I? What's my motivation?
What am I doing?
Come on. Do it. There you go, little fuzzy man. There's Mr. Nubis wants to say goodnight as well, so.
Well, he ain't little.
No, he's not.
All right.
He's our little pork chop, but we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice, take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Take care, everybody.
Good night.